Roughing the Passer, Tulsi Gabbard, and fresh pumpkin spice estate plans all next on the Morning Waffle, coming up right after this. You are on, Chris. You just weren't on the...
He's on.
You weren't on the fun little intro piece.
We'll find out if I'm on or not.
We'll find out if you're there. So
I'm here. I'm present.
He just blankly stares.
Just don't know if I'm on.
I actually did not... I didn't watch the Chiefs game.
I did, because my house is Raiders household.
I had to go back.
Really?
And
Yep. Jesse's a lifelong Raiders fan. And I mean, loves the Raiders. Yep.
Interesting.
Dad's a Raiders fan. Or his dad.
Interesting. Okay.
So,
Well,
I mean, I converted several years ago, but I don't really care for
Yeah,
football.
so all the outrage, I was scrolling, and all the outrage reminded me, the Chiefs are playing Monday night. So I turned it on and watched, I watched the 59-yard field goal that made it 20-10, and then watched from that point on.
Yes.
Which, anyway.
So it was a good game. It was entertaining.
I had to go back and YouTube so I knew something was going on because my every social media feed I had blew up with
stupid refs,
vile hatred towards
the
refs. And I went back and I watched the clip of it, and it, to me, looked like any other tackle you would see any day.
I think it was a blown call.
I didn't see anything weird
it was
about that.
Clearly a blown call, but at the same time, let me say this, and I've said it over and over and over again. I lost interest in football when all the rules started changing, and you literally you can't a defensive back can't touch a wide receiver. You can't touch the quarterback. There was a non-call later in the third quarter where Carr got sacked.
Yes.
And the commentators were saying, "Ooh, this could be a flag because he threw him down." And I thought, that's kind of the nature
of
like
football.
It's like personal foul, isn't it?
Yeah, but that was the thing. He had him in his grasp, and then as he's twisting, he
went down.
He threw him down, and I thought, why is that even a question? That's just a sack.
That's like,
but the rules have changed to protect the quarterback so much that there are certain ways of tackling now. And I get helmet to helmet if you're targeting with your helmet. It all just seems so absurd to me. The horse collar. There was a horse collar against the Raiders, and I was sitting here thinking, he's just doing whatever it takes to tackle the guy, and you don't hurt anybody by a horse collar.
No.
Anyway, I get.
It's
I still enjoy watching.
But you're over it.
I get annoyed. I really do. It's
that's fair.
The change of rules through the last 10 to 15 years
I guess it
annoyed me.
Kind of depends on what kind of sport
very
you want.
annoyed.
Because, I mean, we have UFC. I mean, obviously, as a culture, we're not opposed to a violent sport where people get injured. And boxing, it's just, is that what football is, or is it not what football is?
I mean,
I grew up playing American football, and it was a violent sport.
Yeah, it's a contact
sport. Why is it called
sport.
football? I was thinking about
Actually,
that
I think
last
that
night.
is kind of a good question.
Why is it
It's always
football?
been a good question.
Why? Because, I mean, yes, they kick off, and yes, they punt and kick field goals.
But it's not primarily a foot sport.
It's not a foot sport.
Because football was first,
Yeah.
And they ran out of creativity and said, "Yeah, we're going to steal that name."
I got to thinking about that last night. If anybody knows the origin of why they picked football.
It was a lack of creativity.
Which was already in use at the time that they picked football.
Absolutely it was.
Like,
football already existed, but it was soccer.
Let's just, if it was us.
About this too. What would I call it?
What would we call it?
I don't know. I couldn't come up with anything.
Oblong ball.
Well, then I'm like, basketball's so simple and makes complete logical.
Well, what does rugby mean?
No clue.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'd love to look up the origin of that word.
I know
cricket?
What it means. I'm not playing.
Cricket, yeah.
Not playing rugby.
So we could have just called it pigskin.
We could have called it pigskin.
If they would have called it pigskin, nobody would think anything different.
American pigskin.
Pigskin. We even have to call it American because it's its own thing.
Monday night pigskin.
Any of our sports buffs know. Just
that would work.
I'm curious. I want to know what guy was like football.
Maybe lacrosse. It's French. Maybe that.
Yep,
but maybe like the cross, wouldn't it be? I don't know what lacrosse. I don't
know. Lacrosse is probably the cross. I'm not proficient in French. Highlight, yeah, that's another sport.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
The opening of Miami Vice.
It is the fastest ball in sports.
It's a Cuban thing, right?
Yeah, okay. I think it's Cuban. Yeah, it's the fastest ball in sports.
What do they do with the ball?
They've got these big kind of oblong.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I didn't know what it was called.
I didn't know what it was called.
Yeah.
I lie.
Nobody plays it, but it's pretty awesome.
One guy does, really seriously.
There's one guy that's super into it.
There's a short video clip. The intro of the old Miami Vice is the only reason I know what it is.
I did not watch the old Miami Vice.
That's because you're younger than
That's right.
And I. Before my time.
Too young. Yeah, and I got hot.
It was a big night in sports last night.
What Chris mentioned about the losing interest when the rules change. Baseball's kind of getting that way too, because they're trying to make it an action thing,
and it's not.
And it's not. It's just, it's the chess of sports.
Well,
in a lot of ways.
And I'll say this: I think video replay has not helped any sport. I think it has ruined every sport. Well, so think about soccer. Yeah, I know it's not your favorite sport, but goals are hard to come by.
Oh yeah,
low scoring game. So the best thing about soccer is when a goal is scored.
Yeah,
like. People are hugging and kissing, and it's like, it's goal.
And then video replay takes it away.
Now you can't celebrate when a goal is scored. You're like, wait. Because, all right,
so it's like the pass in the Raiders game.
So you know what the offside line is. You don't know what it is. But in soccer, it's an anti-cherry picking rule.
Okay.
Right? So I can't just stand back there by the keeper, and then you lob me the ball and I score. I have to stay on this side of the defender before the ball's played, and then I can run on to the end of it. Yeah. So you and I, we're in line.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But if I'm here, now I'm just barely past you. And so they literally take a line on the video screen and draw it from my knee to your knee to see if I was just a fraction.
Oh, that's stupid.
It's against the spirit of the play.
Stupid.
The spirit of the play is it's anti-cherry picking. But now we've got it down to the millimeter, and it's ruining every sport that we got to stop and look at every instance.
So
let's go back, let's go back to the game last night.
Ballard's fired up.
Was everybody mad at the refs?
Yes.
And we have replay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So it hasn't. So let's go back. Let's go back to refs suck, and we'll all just say refs suck all the time, and we don't have to scrutinize.
And that's part of the fun.
It's part of the fun. They're human. They make mistakes, and we get fired up, and we're still doing it. So let's just get rid of the video replay in every sport.
It's a completely valid point.
I like it.
There was a Raiders pass last night that was brought back after a video review that was close,
and it was right. It was the right call. It was the
right call, but without that.
We'd still be belly aching about that call now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
that's part of the fun of sport.
That's a completely valid point. It hasn't fixed anything.
Just created new things to be angry about.
And losses.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it slowed down every game.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah.
And in our ADD culture, we need to not slow down games.
Well, and it will bring everything again. So what will be the next thing, right?
Always something new.
There'll be a new thing that we have to use.
We need to repeal video replay.
Repeal.
And the 16th Amendment.
Agreed.
Both.
I agree on both.
Both need to go. Thanks, Stephen. Good to have you with us again this morning.
Good morning.
We had a lot of comments popped up there. Beth has been here saying hi. Carol's here. She's saying hi.
Glad to see Chris.
Yeah, Beth's glad to see Chris.
Good to see you, Beth.
Yeah, sort of. We got
her
profile pictures up there. Yeah, so that's all good. But then, I have a hot, fresh, seasonal pumpkin spice estate plans available.
I'd rather have pumpkin spice than probate.
I love it.
Any day.
That's great. So
that's why.
We're cranking out those pumpkin spice estate plans.
Probate is something I deal with occasionally in the real estate world, and you should avoid it if you can.
It's icky.
Hell.
And we can help. But so the other tease I promised was Tulsi Gabbard, and you guys both looked at me like, what's that all about?
Well, I know who Tulsi Gabbard is, but
I don't.
There's news.
There's news. So Tulsi Gabbard was a 2020 Democratic presidential candidate, and she was not ever really in the hunt.
From Ohio? Or
I'm not really sure where she's from, honestly.
Somewhere up in that area.
But
Indiana?
She made a little bit of a splash because she really called out Kamala Harris.
Is that how you say her name? I still don't know.
It's comma. It's like the
comma
law.
She's irrelevant, so it doesn't matter. Just
but really called her out in a debate for basically being a colossal hypocrite in the way that she had managed her office as a attorney general, and then what she was campaigning on, and really zinged. That's a good word, zanged. It's like the past tense of zing, zang.
Zanged?
Zing, zang, zung.
Yeah, zanged.
Yeah, it's a zanger.
I just head down to the holler and I zanged her. That sounded bad. I'm sorry. Did not mean it that way.
Guys, I'm sorry. I was way off. She's from Hawaii.
Okay, there you go.
of Samoan descent.
Better than
That's
Indiana.
not Indiana, is it?
Well, anyway,
she's
always been kind of a voice of reason, kind of in the Democratic Party, and just sort of said, this doesn't make sense, and this doesn't make sense. And she finally said, I can't fix this. And she bailed on the Democratic Party. She said, she's like, nope. She said it's the Democratic Party is controlled by leftist elites, woke, and racist, anti-white people, and I'm out. And so coincidentally, though, I will say this. She's starting her own podcast.
Big
She's
surprise.
got a new show coming out. So it's like, okay.
There was some personal.
There was probably a little bit of I'd be better off if I was unaffiliated.
Yeah.
To start my new media career than.
Oh, okay.
And so I think there's a little bit of that involved.
Probably.
But I'll be honest, I've always liked Tulsi Gabbard. Even though I would never have voted for her because she was claiming to be a Democrat. That's true.
It's fair. Yeah.
That's where I live. But she said a lot of smart things. She said a lot of smart things during COVID.
Yeah.
She said a lot of smart things during Afghanistan.
Yep. I'm always impressed by people who are willing to go against the grain, especially within their own camp. By conviction, they speak what's on their heart or their mind. And I just think...
Yes.
The amen from Lauren.
Amen on that one.
It's a good Sunday. Oh, wait, it's not Sunday morning. It's Tuesday morning. I was getting a Lauren amen.
Yeah.
Emma's driving a stick today.
So if she can't,
that's the...
Get off your
using
phone.
both hands.
That's
this is how you drive a stick.
The Gen Z anti-theft device.
Yeah.
I couldn't steal a car either. I tried real hard.
People have said a millennial anti-theft device too, and that's probably true.
Didn't work. I tried real hard to learn that. Couldn't do it.
I drove a standard transmission vehicle until I was out of law school. So, I mean, for probably the first 10 years that I drove, it was a manual.
The truck before the truck I have now was a standard transmission.
Yep.
1997 Toyota Tacoma.
I'm not sure
Jesse drove a standard Tacoma.
I'm wondering, do they even offer like manual transmission?
Very rare.
Yeah, very rarely. Yeah.
Well, your point, though, Will, is a good transition to something that I was talking to Jesse with this morning.
Segues.
So the Florida statement that was released about Moderna vaccines for 18 to 39-year-old men. Okay? Let's do those both wrong. So Florida releases
Bonnie, it was not about Rogersville schools.
So. Yeah, no, we're not.
No need.
Just general sports stuff. Yeah.
So Florida releases this. Florida Attorney General releases this study or analysis, is what they called it this morning, about the vaccines for 18 to 39-year-old men.
Yeah.
So I read that, and then I went to the internet and I was reading, the counter articles about it. And basically, the first article I read said, in other words, this guy's a moron. He didn't do it. He didn't do any sort of actual study. This is all phooey, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm like, my thought was, even if there's a chance that what that analysis said were true, that it did cause increased heart issues between 18 to 39-year-old men, shouldn't we be working together to check that out?
You mean instead of just like
Instead of just immediately suppressing things and discrediting them.
Romans chapter 1.
Shouldn't we work together to figure out if that has any sort of, truth or not? Wouldn't that make sense?
It would.
If you are starting with this presupposition that the truth matters. If truth is your highest value, you're going to want truth to come out, even if it's not your preferred narrative. So there's your worldview dilemma.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
you're making sense that one should long for what is true.
Because here's the problem: we've discredited our politicians, right? We don't believe they're telling us the truth.
Well, they've discredited themselves.
Yeah, we didn't do it.
Yeah. Now our physicians are being put in the same category. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's scary, right? Because there's certain people that take these long paths of education and careers that we're expecting to provide us with, accurate information. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, well, I don't know who I can believe because you've just called that person an idiot and that person just called you an idiot. So who do I get information from?
You can trust the Waffle right here.
The Waffle.
K-ROG, Wildcat. Just listen to us. We'll tell you everything you need to know.
The Waffle.
The Waffle.
So I don't know. That was my thought this morning. Like, oh, crap. Now we've just kind of wrecked the medical field as well. Like, what do you do? And I mean, COVID started the whole thing. So who do you listen to? Because I can't give doctor advice.
I would say COVID started the whole thing. I would say it amplified the whole thing.
It amplified it quickly. It escalated it. Yes.
I'll tell you the first time I noticed it, and it may just have been stage life issue. It may have been before that, but I noticed it in the 90s during the Clinton administration.
I was getting ready to say the same thing. Because in our life. I'm sure people said Nixon or whatever.
Oh, yeah. And that makes perfect sense. And I'm just going to say for me, where I realized it was when I could look at one thing that I knew was true and then hear a politician say it's not true and go, well, I know they're lying. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows they're lying. They know they're lying, but they would continue to repeat the lie until everybody would just go, well, I guess blue is red.
Yeah. And going back, and I said Nixon. Well, somehow after that, we still had a general sense of trust in our politicians. So that was almost like a
don't play.
That was like a one-off.
Don't play Powerball.
Don't play. Yeah, exactly.
The only way to win.
But after Clinton, I think that was the beginning of this deterioration of trust with politicians. I may be wrong on that. I'm not as learned in history as some, but in my life, that's been the experience. Was that was the downfall to the point where the assumption now is they're lying.
They're lying.
I need to find the truth because what they're saying is not true.
Oh, that makes sense. I was pretty young when the whole scandal broke about that, but I do remember thinking like the whole thing was icky and not cool, and everybody appeared to be lying. But then I remember like with Bush, George W. Bush. Uh-huh. I remember them, towards the end of his second term, he had 2 terms, right?
He did.
Them just basically calling him an idiot. And I'm like, and I remember thinking, we probably shouldn't be calling our president like an idiot. And then ever since then, every president, you know what I mean? It's like, there's certain.
Well, you shouldn't call the president idiot or incompetent without proof. Let's just put it that way.
That's fair. But now it's turned into such mudslinging that you just don't. Most people don't want to even partake in it, right?
We'll never go back. Thanks to social media, it's
in reality TV, and it's dumbed down society, and now we've got the Chinese TikTok, whose algorithm is literally designed to make us stupider. Is what it sounds like.
There's people that have talked about that. There's people that have talked about how, and the interesting thing about TikTok, and I posted a link to a podcast a couple of weeks ago talking about TikTok and how the Chinese version of TikTok that you get if you're in China is completely different than what you get here, that the algorithm is designed to feed kind of this mind-numbing cotton candy,
people behaving stupidly
to American teenagers. But, in China, as with everything else, it's all pro-communist propaganda. That's what you get on your TikTok over there.
Yep.
Which, you would expect. But interesting, yeah, it's kind of been a weaponized platform, and if it's not, it's certainly poised to be so. Well, so I did delete TikTok off my phone.
Well, and it sounds like that's what's happening in Taiwan. Like they're being fed a whole bunch they're under cyber attack, is what we were talking about this yesterday, where they're being fed a whole bunch of misinformation.
From China?
From China, yes. And that's the new version of and you think about this on social media, this has 100% happened, where you're fed a whole bunch of misinformation that you have to wade through. And it kind of creates 2 responses, in my opinion. You either get away from it and ignore it, or you kind of go deeper and deeper into it.
Well, what I find is simple discernment will oftentimes lead you to a better answer. And you can pick through it to some extent. And I mean, I've got books in my office I'll be happy to share with you all that are specifically about Stoic thinking and logical thinking and how to follow an argument. And, you sit there and you look at and it's a fun skill to develop because you just go, okay, that's a straw man argument. That's a goalpost argument. Sure. That's an ad hominem attack. And you just pick through and go, that's why that's invalid. That's why that's invalid. And you just kind of go, well, I'm not going to listen to this. The difficulty in that is if you start thinking incredibly logically, you start asking some interesting questions and you come to some conclusions that people would think were weird.
Well, again, I go back to the premise. If your starting point is you're a truth seeker,
yes,
you're already in a very small camp.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Yeah. Because again, I think most people, I say it this way. I want to have what I call a biblical worldview, but I have to also be intellectually honest enough to say I have a biblical worldview shaded by my American upbringing.
Uh-huh.
And that's not necessarily, I'm not trashing on my American worldview. It's just that we also have to be honest and say, all right, there are certain presuppositions we have because of where we were raised. And that shades everything we receive. Any information is now received through that filter. And so until you understand that filter, you don't know if truth is there or not. And so you have to kind of tease it out. And that's hard work, what you just described. If I'm going to understand Stoic philosophy, if I'm going to understand some of the Eastern philosophies, and that way I can understand, okay, what I just heard is shaded by this philosophy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's hard work that a TikTok generation that's getting nonsense for 10 seconds or 6 seconds or whatever it is not going to grab.
I don't even think they've been given the tools to do that, right?
No, we don't teach that.
Well, I wasn't,
when your
but
high
I saw
school
it.
English teacher teaches you how to write a paper for college, right?
Yeah.
If you don't ever go through that, I mean,
Right.
I remember she did. I can't remember her name right now, darn it. But she taught us how to write a college paper. And I used that information over and over and over and over and over.
And if that's correctly done, then you'll continue to use that throughout your life.
Throughout the rest of my life.
Communication skill.
And I still use that when I draft emails for work and different things like that, when I need to be more formal. I don't know.
How to order a thought. And how to ask questions of
how to make
material
a
you've read.
statement, provide some facts, and then
diagramming
come to a
sentences.
conclusion.
Just even that, right?
Excellent skill, diagramming sentences. But, I looked it up to make sure that I was going to be correct when I said this. But one of the scariest things I ever heard to come out of an elected politician's mouth was it's more important to be morally right than factually correct. And of course, that comes from our favorite Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who said, it doesn't matter if I'm spreading misinformation as long as the narrative is correct. Morally correct.
So she's pitting morality and truth against one another.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Which
that's terrifying.
Isn't a false dichottomy.
Now, here's what's
we all
really
know
terrifying.
Everybody's morality is a little bit different.
Did you, and I should have teased this one at the beginning. How about that PayPal? You guys heard about this?
Oh, boy. No.
Mm-mm.
Oh, this was great. PayPal released an update to their terms of service that said users I can't remember exactly what it said, but it basically said if you spread what we deem to be false information, misinformation, we're going to fine you $2,500. Like PayPal will just suck $2,500 out of your account.
I probably ought to disconnect.
If you,
I got off of PayPal 5 seconds after joining it.
If they don't like what you say, they can just take your money. Is what this terms of use said. Now that came out Friday over the weekend.
Maybe I shouldn't disconnect. Maybe I should bring that legal battle on.
Huge backlash. Huge backlash.
If I only knew a lawyer.
I know, right? That had a suit.
That had a suit.
I don't have any suits. I can't go to court. Huge backlash.
We'll fight you, suit.
Yesterday, PayPal said, "Oh, that was a mistake. That wasn't supposed to be in there. That wasn't supposed to be in there." Go.
Maybe you should get new people to read your drafts.
Engage your critical thinking skills at this point and go, really?
Yeah.
Really?
How is that
because you've got lawyers, you've got people reviewing. This isn't some staffer typed it up and slipped it in there. He.
Yeah.
This went through the whole review process.
Lots of eyes were on
They
this.
approved it, and then they got caught.
Yeah.
And now they're walking it back. But what terrifies me, except I don't get terrified, but what would be terrifying about this is the fact that you've got people in finance thinking this way. And this is where they want to go is if you don't agree with our agenda,
we'll take your money.
We're going to take your money. We're going to shut down your ability to do commerce. Ring any bells for you, Ballard?
Yeah, it's
you
quite
can't
familiar.
Buy and sell.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we'll ruin your life too, by the way. I mean, they'll do that too, right?
Absolutely.
It takes one post on social media that can ruin somebody's life. It can. And I mean, it's terrifying.
Yeah, and so I think for me, the answer is to disconnect that I care, because I'm pretty well confident that I'm not going to change what I believe. I'm not probably going to stop talking about it and I'm called to talk about it. And therefore, I'm going to have to be willing to suffer the consequences for that.
Sure.
And I am. And so if people are going to backlash at me on social media, and they do from time to time, I was like, okay, I can handle that because it's what we're called to do. Sherry Bullard is watching.
It's intense times. I mean, it really is. It's
hey, Sherry.
Well, and it's when I was watching the Chiefs game last night. I mean, there was one point towards the beginning of that game that I thought the crowd just might absolutely lose it here. I mean, you could tell it was very, very intense. And I feel like that is relating to what's going on in your day-to-day interactions. People are worked up. They're hyped up. It's like you see it in driving. You see it in interactions with people in stores. And, there's just a lot going on. And I think it goes back to we are fed so much information just constantly.
Fed is...
That's the right word.
It's we're told what to think. And as you mentioned earlier through TikTok, it's designed what we see. All right. So great example. A Chiefs fan threw something at the Raiders as they were walking in at halftime. And that gets played over and over and over again. And what are the comments? Chiefs fans, they're the worst, right?
Yeah.
So a Chiefs fan did something stupid. Chiefs fans are bad.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And,
absolutely.
Yep.
But this is the power of it. One guy did something dumb, and I'm sure there was probably 10 or 100 others that would also do something dumb.
Sure.
But how many were in the stadium?
Oh, I don't know.
How many thousands?
A whole bunch.
Right.
Yeah,
So
tens of thousands.
But again, you were told in that moment to feel something, to think something, and now to believe something.
Yep.
And this is how the whole thing is designed. And unless you turn on your brain and seek truth, you're going to, as you use the word fed, you're going to be fed these thoughts, and you're going to believe them and think that it was your thought.
Yep.
Well, it's like what we said at the beginning of the show. Refs suck.
Yeah.
They don't all suck.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do. Okay. Never mind. That was a bad example.
No.
So Vicky's right. Too much negativity being fed. Let's see if we can feed some positive right now. What do you guys got going on? Good stuff.
I'll tell you, I had an interesting morning yesterday.
Okay.
So an old high school classmate of mine moved back here, not moved back here, but moved to Rogersville 2 months ago, and ran into him at the coffee shop. And he's a Messianic Jew. And so he put up a Sukkot in his backyard, a booth.
I saw these posts. So I'm glad you're talking about it. I was curious.
At the tabernacle, it's a reminder of when the children of Israel lived in the wilderness and God provided and all that. And so it was amazing. So
it's very cool.
I went and had coffee there, and we did the blessing, and I had the four elements, the citron and the three branches, and the blessing that's each direction, up and then down. It's to say that God is everywhere and he's all around me, and it's a reminder of his provision of the people. And so it was just an amazing thing. I'm going to Israel later next month. And
that's wonderful.
It was kind of a preview of that for me.
Very excited to hear about this trip.
Yeah,
jump into the Hebrew culture. But that was fun. I mean, right here in Rogersville, I got to experience
wonderful.
That's great.
Hebrew culture.
Fantastic.
I think it's the easiest way to enjoy someone else's culture is to go eat in their restaurants.
Absolutely.
So do that. There's never anything wrong with going and experiencing the way somebody else lives. I mean, unless they're living like a crazy person. Do some real bad
Have your
stuff.
limits.
Don't go to the drug cartel and do that.
Don't go to California and try that.
Fact finding. Just fact finding.
But no, I mean, I think there's so many wonderful elements of different cultures and different ideas. I hate it when people are like, you move here and, do what we do and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, I mean, you can always.
Yeah, your culture's welcome here.
Your culture's welcome here. Will's not so sure.
Not so sure about that.
Not that your culture becomes our culture.
There you go.
But a little infusion and a little understanding is beautiful.
Flavor's great.
Yes, flavor is great. Exactly. So I'm all about that. I think that's a wonderful way. And I saw those pictures, and I'm glad you brought it up because I was curious about that. I thought that was neat.
It was neat. Yeah, there's some positivity for you.
I don't think I did anything interesting. Trying to think. I don't think I did.
With PTA Pumpkin Picnic, and it was awesome on Saturday. It was a really good event. It was it was just, we had cider and we had kettle corn and everything was very, very reasonably priced. We sold these shirts for $5 and it made me think PTA should do a $5 shirt and hoodie every year.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we lose money on it, right? But I bet we could find somebody to sponsor to lose to make up the difference on what we'd lose on it because shirts cost more than $5
I'd almost
now.
guarantee you
I bet you could.
I'll bet you could.
Absolutely.
And because, stuff gets expensive for parents and students. And, by the time you've, contributed to class parties and paid whatever sports stuff you need to pay or band stuff or dance stuff, and then, everybody sells Wildcat wear and you want to contribute, it gets expensive, right?
It does. Yeah.
It does.
I saw all your posts, and we've probably said way too much of this, but you have the most photogenic children I've ever encountered, Lauren
cute.
Brooke.
They're cute. They're cute little monkeys.
Crazy little cute little
They
monkeys.
were wearing those shirts, and I was like, here, hold this hoodie. Snap, took a picture, and I'm like, this is going on social media.
It's pretty good stuff.
This
Thank you,
entice
Vicki.
people to
I
buy
appreciate the
$5
clarification
shirts.
there.
Yeah, they're sweet girls.
We didn't think you thought we were negative.
No, and I got to surprise one of them on Sunday. Clara's birthday is around this time of year, and she always kind of digs at me about not getting to have a pool party, right?
Oh,
because it's in September. So I'm like,
we had a very warm September.
I will show you. So, like 6 weeks ago, I booked the OC in Ozark.
Nice.
Talk about an incredible community center.
Oh, it's great.
That place is holy guacamole. Mm-hmm. So I booked it. I told her, you're going to have a party. It's going to be an ocean party, but it's going to be at her house. And so we got to do the whole, got to the thing. I told her I need to go pick up something for a party. And we're walking in, and she's carrying something, and she's kind of looking around. She's like, what are we doing here? And I'm like, and she's walking, she's getting closer and closer to the pool, and I see her grin, and then I see, she turns red, and then grins bigger.
That's awesome. Good job, Mom.
I was like, yes, I did it.
Good
I'm like,
stuff.
stop giving me crap about not being able to swim. Birthday.
Finally pulled up a
Pulled
surprise.
it off a surprise.
Good
So it was
work.
fun. And I have no idea how much that facility costs, but it's a good, because a lot of people ask for community centers in Rogersville, and we do need one, but also it's unobtainable right now because of the cost, right? So I have no idea how much money they spend on that facility. I don't know, but it is incredible.
There have been efforts, I think, to get some sort of community center in Rogersville for at least 20 years that I'm aware of.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And
I've heard the stories.
I'll
yes.
just here's my diagnosis, having watched them try and fail is one, you have people that just don't want it. I understand that.
Yeah.
And that's
There's
out there.
always,
I don't just
curmudgeons.
understand that.
No.
But go
I
ahead.
There's
understand that
always
those people
curmudgeons.
exist.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
However, the real problem that I see that
Don't
happens,
make our town great. We like it this way.
the real problem that I see that happens in a lot of these projects is as soon as they get some steam, nobody wants to support them at the beginning because they don't want to,
Take some time. Yeah, get everybody
once
on board.
they gain steam, you get people to come in that want to take it over. And
It's interesting.
that derails it almost every single time. Is somebody comes in and says, no, I've got a better vision for this. I want it. I'm going to come in and I'm going to be a supporter. And they come in as a supporter, but then they just slowly say, no,
hard.
I'm going to do, let's do this, let's do that. Okay, I'm in charge, and they run everybody off, and it's done. It's happened at least 3 times.
I was going to say, I think I've observed this a time or two.
Yeah. And so, you just sort of have to say, I'm buying into the vision that I'm supporting or I'm not, but hijacking somebody else's vision is never a good idea.
It's not a good idea.
Not a good idea. So,
Well, and I don't like the argument that, Springfield's 15 minutes away. It's not, it is 15 minutes away, but a trip to Springfield is not a 15-minute process. And by the way, as driving, I'd like to drive less into Springfield, and
It's
I'd like to
not our
spend more
community.
time and money here.
that's right. Good point,
And
Chris.
I'm a water person. I love water. I'm one of those people that if you get me in the water, I'll be there all day. I'm like a Labrador. I just swim And Jesse's the same way. And I literally get sad in the summertime here because I don't get to swim as much as I want. And at the kids' party the other day, I'm like, hey, Miss Vicky, Mom, you handle the food. I'm going to go swim. I went down the water slide 15 times.
Yeah, you got that, Steven.
I love it.
Beth apparently thinks the show's over. She's giving us the bye.
She's like, bye, guys. It's time to stop talking.
Had enough.
So it is, and that facility again in Ozark, I have no idea how much money they spent. I'm sure it's continually, it's not a money-making thing. I am not saying we should build a $10, $15 million facility in Rogersville. There's no money for that, right? Unless
there could be
somebody.
There could be.
And I don't know how to go about it. I think you got to start small, though. I think you got things like splash pads and park improvements.
Things can be done in phases.
They can be done in
but
phases.
But they have to have a plan to be done in phases.
But like, how do we get it going?
I have some thoughts, but
I know.
We'll save them for later.
We'll save them for later.
So anyway, but yeah, that was it's a perfect example of a kid's birthday party that went someplace else kids' birthday parties are big money.
Okay, here's the big question in town: the surprise construction east on Redwood.
I do know what it is.
I feel like we got the answer to that.
It's
not a Walmart.
Neighborhood marketplace.
It's not in the city limits.
It's not a Walmart.
It is not it's going to be some sort of manufacturing type stuff. It's not a doji.
All right, say that again. We're being serious. A manufacturing.
Yeah, it's some sort of manufacturing. And I don't want to say it because it's not in the city limits of Rogersville. It's like they're making this. Yeah. Right. So it's like a facility that makes this specific thing. And I don't remember what the person said. So
I'm sure it's awesome.
And it's not in the city limits. And I don't know if, I have no idea.
I'm pretty happy about what I'm seeing recently of some, I think, well-placed industrial development, because those bring jobs. That brings
very important
people.
To have
that
jobs.
Brings and keeps people in the community for their job, which means now we've got people that want commerce. And we can have that coveted commerce that we've all been begging for a long time.
Because guess what? If you work in Rogersville, you buy lunch at Taco Bell in Rogersville, or you go to,
you mentioned one. Now you got to mention them all.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah,
Go
no,
ahead.
I can't
Start
do it.
listening.
I can't do it.
Beaks,
So,
Linda, Lucy's, McDonald's, Subway, Sky Dragon, Time to Loaf, Specialty Sweets. Boy, I pretty much got them all.
Storytime Coffee
Company.
Get a smoothie.
The food truck. Just say Habit.
Yeah.
Say
Habit.
Habit. Yeah.
So if you do that, then
we forgot somebody.
You stop.
I know. That's what I said. Once you start, you can't do it.
I know
people are going to be
angry. That's how you know you don't have enough restaurants when you have to list them all when you bring up one.
And you can almost do it.
And you can almost do it. Less than 10.
And you can always hire Kevin Lane to just come cook in your own kitchen.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, because then when you get off work, you go to Apple Market, right? You don't stop in Springfield on the way home.
Is there a chamber lunch today?
I think there is. Yeah.
I'm not opening a restaurant, Beth. I'm not opening a restaurant, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
It's not going to happen.
Oh, man. Well.
Yeah, I think you're having chamber lunch today, Ballard.
Yeah. There you go.
And I think Kevin's cooking for that, right?
He is. That's what made me think of it when you said Kevin.
I got to go into Springfield.
It's going to be delicious.
So.
Okay.
Well, it's senior night with the soccer team.
Wonderful.
Your 15-2 ranked third in the state soccer team.
Diggity dog. That's exciting.
4:30. Recognize the seniors. It's been a great season already.
Good job, seniors.
Yep.
Hey, tell your friends that aren't on Facebook to watch our stuff on KROGTV.com because our live shows are there right now. It's a new deal. Or Twitter.
Hey, also remember, first Friday is the last Friday of October.
Or shall be last.
First shall be last.
Yep.
I'm debating about this chili situation.
I can't do it.
Well, see, your second place chili's got a shot.
I can't be there. Wow.
You might get to change the name.
Thanks, Chris. I really appreciate the confidence you have.
No, you said you didn't think you were coming.
I know, but then you said because I'm not there, Lauren might have a shot. So that's really a compliment to me.
Oh, it was. Okay. I thought you were thinking I was trashing.
I knew exactly where Will's ego went.
Bingo.
What would Steven say? It's about me.
It's about me syndrome. Yeah, it is.
Oh, that's great.
Okay.
Well, thank you for watching. Lots of people watching today. We appreciate you guys very much.
We love it. So we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye-bye.